Today on the channel, the Kyle Peterson Top 5 continues with the Top 5 Jake the Snake Roberts figures. Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Kyle Peterson Top 5. And today, we're diving into the Snake Man, old Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time, and a guy that's had figures across many lines from LJN, Hasbro, Jakks, Mattel, and so forth. He's been around, he's had a lot of figures, and it was a lot harder than I thought it would be to get a top 5 Jake Roberts figure. But we're going to do it like we normally do it. We're going to start at number 5, count it all the way down to number 1. You guys get your list ready at home. I want to hear them in the comments down below. And while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and all that kind of fun stuff. But very hard to pick a top 5 Jake Roberts, as a lot of these could have went either way. I had to really sit with this and sleep on it for a few nights out there. But this is my list. Like I always say, this is my top 5. You give me your top 5 in the comments down below. So without any further ado, let's get it started with Jake Roberts, and we're going straight to Mattel. Now this is a hard one. This one I kind of went back and forth with. This is my 5th favorite Jake the Snake Roberts figure. I almost went to a couple of different Jakks Classic Superstars, but this one just went one out for me. This was the one I knew I had to choose in number 5, and it's the Walmart exclusive Mattel Jake the Snake Roberts from the 1996 King of the Ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, of course. But Mattel flashback Walmart exclusive Jake Roberts. A very interesting Jake Roberts, a strange Jake Roberts a little bit. The head scan on here is a one and done. This is the only time it's ever been used. This is definitely later day Jake Roberts. I guess we should say mid-late 90s Jake Roberts, not so much 80s Jake Roberts or current day. I'm sure AEW Jazzwares will get us a Jake Roberts figure eventually. But number 5 for me, I went with this one. It's just different enough. I love the color pattern on here. I love Revelations, the snake, the big boa, and the yellowish, whitish snake instead of the traditional, brown cobra we've had many a times, or brown boa constrictor, I should say, many a times. I like that Jake comes with the shirt here. As we all know, he was wearing this kind of oversized shirt when he wrestled in 96, 97, that time frame there. But just the head scan is so different. It's a creepy Jake, a creepy older Jake is what this reminds me of. Just got a very strange look on his face. It looks like something's off, but I don't really think there is anything off with this one. I think this really does capture Jake a lot better than at first glance, I would say. And it's just different enough. It's just an anomaly in the Mattel line for Jake the Snake Roberts. A very hard to find Jake Roberts figure, as we all know about the Mattel line. Very hard to find these flashbacks. This is part of the King Harley Race, Shawn Michaels Build-A-Figure assortment. So I know a lot of people are upset about this figure. They couldn't get this one as easy, but it's come down a little bit in price, but it's still going to cost you $40 to $50 on card at this point. But number 5 for me, flashback Walmart exclusive Mattel Jake the Snake Roberts. All right, the line continues with number 4, Jake the Snake Roberts, my 4th favorite Jake the Snake Roberts figure of all time. And I gotta tell you, this was my first Jake the Snake Roberts figure I ever owned as a little kid, and I was very excited to get this one. I still remember ordering out of the back of a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. If you guys are of a certain age, you remember getting Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, Ringside News, all those kind of things. I loved to get those wrestling magazines. I had such a collection of those as a kid. I just absolutely loved them. And we used to be able to buy our LJNs out of the back. They were very inflated costs, but you couldn't find some. And they had some of the deep sets you could no longer find at the shelves anymore. And I remember getting Jake the Snake Roberts via that for one of my birthdays, Easter, something along them lines. But I was so excited when it came. And a very nostalgic Jake the Snake Roberts for me, and that's why he's at number 4 on the list. And that is the LJN Jake the Snake Roberts. A sleeper LJN figure. I know there's a lot of gripes on this one. There's a lot of gripes on people about LJN. You got to remember, I grew up, this was wrestling figures. People look at it through a 2021 lens with LJN sometimes, and they think of what we have with Mattel and AEW. Those are next level figures. But back then, you had Remcos and you had LJNs. There wasn't a lot of point of difference out there. We didn't know any better. We didn't know what technologies were to come. And you had to use your imagination with these ones. And I always liked this Jake the Snake Roberts figure. And one complaint I hear about this figure a lot is he's a lot smaller than your average LJNs. And it's so weird to me. It's just like with Ted DiBiase being in the suit. Never bothered me. I never once thought, I mean, this Jake the Snake's too small. It never crossed my mind for whatever reason. And Jake is one of those deceivingly tall guys. You think maybe he's like 6'2", 6'3", but no, he's 6'6", you know, he's a big, big dude. So he's very undersized compared to a lot of the other LJNs. I do understand that, but it never bothered me. I love that the snake was removable. Can you imagine how people would lose their mind if the snake wasn't removable and you had to wrestle with him with the snake on? But I absolutely loved having Damien. You could pull him off. You could put him on people. He was basically a bendy, so you can move him around however you wanted to. I always absolutely loved that. I thought that was a cool accessory. And an accessory I never lost. I never lost any of my LJN accessories as a kid, so I was very good at keeping those together. But Jake is in a perfect position. Kind of the arms up, like what the heck's going on. It fits good for his snake, but it also felt good. You could do clotheslines with him. You could do chops with him. And then, of course, you could do the DDT with this Jake the Snake Roberts figure. So it checked all the boxes I wanted on an LJN figure. And I remember when he came into my Fig Fed, my playing days, it was always a big deal when a new LJN or whatever, you can talk Hasbro, Mattel, Jax, whatever you want. When you're a kid playing and you get a new figure into your collection, it just opens up so much more playability, new feuds, you're doing new pay-per-views, so much stuff happens. And I remember this Jake coming in and just shaking up my Fig Fed. And one thing about Jake is, it's amazing, is I never thought of Jake as a CD level superstar. I never thought of him like a Coco Beware, for example. Nothing against my boy Coco and Frankie, but I never seriously thought Coco would ever have a title. But Jake, I always felt like could have a title, but like he wasn't interested in it. And that's, Jake was a magical performer in the 80s. He didn't need an Intercontinental title. He didn't need the world title. He had the snake, and that was more than enough for him. And it was one of those guys that you felt could win a title, but just didn't interest him. And that's how I remember feeling about Jake as a kid. So very nostalgic purposes for me. Number 4, the old LJN Jake the Snake Roberts. All right, we're at the halfway point. We're at the number 3 Jake the Snake Roberts figure, my all-time favorites, and it's actually the most current Jake the Snake Roberts there is. WWE Hall of Fame Legends Series 8, Target exclusive Jake the Snake Roberts. That is my number 3 pick. Absolutely love this green. When I think of Jake Roberts, I always think of him in green. I think of the snake boots. I think of this colored Damien, just like the one we saw with the LJN. But I love the pointer finger on this one. It's so crazy getting different interchangeable hands, how much that changes just the presence of a wrestling figure, or really any figure for that matter. And I just think they did a phenomenal job on this Jake. There is a brown pants version as well, as he had a chase in here. He was one of the ones that had a chase and a regular. But for me, between the two, if I had to pick, I picked this green one. I just think of this as more iconic, and I just love the look of this Jake. Beautiful head scan on Jake. Great 80s, WrestleMania 3 time frame Jake the Snake Roberts. Beautiful snake, beautiful everything. Just one of his best figures. This one made number 3. This is a brand new release. I got to think, we do know that we're getting another Jake the Snake Roberts figure in the future in the Legends line again. Not sure which one that'll be, but I got to think we'll get a Jazzwares manager Jake the Snake. So the future's pretty bright for Jake the Snake figures, I think, in 2022 and beyond. But for me, number 3 is a recent one, the Legends Series 8 Target exclusive. All right, we're down to the number 2 spot, and I got to tell you, I got to be honest here. This was a very tough list for me. There wasn't a lot of point of difference between all these figures, and especially 1 and 2 really could flip-flop depending on the days. But as we're sitting right here, gun to my head, I have to make a choice, and my choice for number 2, Legends Series 2 from Mattel once again, the Elite lineup, Jake the Snake Roberts. Now, this Jake is something special. I still feel this is the best Mattel Jake the Snake figure that's ever been done. I just absolutely love the flame look here. I love the Cobra. Now, Jake, for me, my all-time favorite period of Jake was the Cobra incident with Macho Man. You guys all know the Cobra incident. If you don't, look it up on YouTube. It was just groundbreaking for little Kyle. I absolutely loved it. And I remember people saying, oh, wrestling's fake. I remember showing, how's this fake? How's this fake? Show me this. How's this fake? Well, he was devenomized, all that kind of stuff. But that snake was really biting him, that's for sure. So that's what this reminds me of. It also reminds me of, and I'm sure the gear's a little bit different, but I always think of this and how I display this one. I display it in my WCW shelf, as I absolutely love the Sting Jake the Snake Roberts feud as a little kid. I thought that was a great angle. I absolutely loved it. I wish the Black Scorpion would have been Jake the Snake Roberts. How cool would that have been in the long run? But just love this Jake. Once again, he's got the Cobra I guess we'll call him Snake, not necessarily Cobra, but Snake boots. Love the coloring on the tights on this one. This is just heel Jake with the Cobra. And it's Cobra, as we all know, snakes out there. Cobra is the scariest of all snakes. We knew that from G.I. Joe. We knew that from Cobra Commander. So when you put Cobras with Jake the Snake Roberts, it brought him to another level for me. And he was always, you know, his promos, soft talking. He was always a scary, threatening guy. But when he turned heel, it just went to a next level. And that's why this Jake is so good. I hope future Jakes, we relook at some of this period of Jake's career. I'd love to have WCW Jake the Snake or more heel Jake Snake gear from this darker period with the Cobra. I would absolutely love that. Give me a 2-pack with the Macho Man. Let's get a 2-pack out there. We got 2-packs with Mattel. Give me a Jake Macho 2-pack with the Snake. Bite blood on his arm. Oh, that would be great. That would be a pack I'd want 2 of for sure. But for number 2 for me, Legend Series 2, Mattel WWE Elite Jake the Snake Roberts. Hopefully you got your list together. What is going to be number 1? I think some of you guys can maybe guess it, but you know, we're going to talk about it right now. All right, we've come to the end of the list. The Jake the Snake Roberts top 5 as chosen by me. Once again, I'm going to ask you to put your top 5 Jake the Snake Roberts figures in the comment. But like I said in the last doing number 2, Jake, I said number 1, number 2 is extremely close. But gun to my head, looking it all over, talking about the longest playability, the most nostalgic Jake. When I close my eyes and I think Jake Roberts action figures, what do I think of? Well, of course, probably like a lot of you guys of my age bracket out there, you think of the Hasbro Jake the Snake Roberts. An iconic figure, an early Hasbro figure, as we're all aware, just an iconic figure. He looks like an old drunk uncle a little bit. He looks a little bit off, kind of has a gut to him here. But you know it's Jake the Snake Roberts with that mustache. And I used to have a neighbor across the street that looked a lot like Jake the Snake, and he had a mustache just like that. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But it's such an iconic figure, this Jake the Snake. Now, we got the Snake, of course. We had it in the LJN, but we get an even better Snake here. Very iconic. I loved having him and Andre the Giant square off in my child fig fed when I was playing. But you know it's Jake. You got the boots, you got the pants, no shirt on, of course, like Jake wore. You get the Snake, of course. I love how the Snake fit around him. This was the first Hasbro we got with the punching arm as well. So this became a standard, somewhat standard. We got him in the Smoking Guns. We got it in a few other ones. Virgil, I believe, off the top of my head. So we knew it, but this is our first time, and it worked. This isn't my favorite playability feature of the Hasbro figures, I should say, not LGNs, the punch, but it worked for Jake. He had a great punch. We also could do clotheslines with this, and then his arm here moved. It was perfect to do the DDTs with. So he did look a little bit older than he maybe needed to look. He all kind of looked like a, I don't know, just didn't look like a wrestler, especially in that period of time, if that makes any sense. But such an iconic pose. There's so many people that don't follow wrestling that look at this and they remember this Jake the Snake Roberts toy. Maybe they were getting it for their nieces and nephews or their kids as a kid. It's just an iconic figure, and one I probably, in my playing days, I played with the most. The LJN was close, but Hasbro's was the dominant time period. I was in from the beginning to the end of the Hasbro line playing. Where LJNs I got in, you know, about 86 or something. I want to say my first wrestling figure came. So it was already kind of started a little bit. But this is just so iconic. Most of us have had this. If you're a serious wrestling figure collector, it's a very cheaper Hasbro, I guess, compared to a lot of the other ones. But a lot of us have owned this over time. It's so iconic. It's such sentimental. And that's part of this. It's, yeah, I like a lot of these Mattels. These Mattels are really good. They are sentimental to me as well. But no Jakks on this list. You got to remember, Jakks had tons of Jake the Snakes. We had Deluxe Aggressions, Classic Superstars. We had a Ring and Jake. There was quite a few Jakes, but they just didn't make the cut. It was close for number 5. It just didn't work out that way in this one. You guys know I love Jakks a whole lot, but it just wasn't in the cards for this list. It was very Mattel heavy, and Mattel has done a very good job with Jake the Snake Roberts figures, as we've seen. But the granddaddy of them all, for me, the number 1 Jake the Snake Roberts figure of all time, my personal pick, Jake the Snake Roberts Hasbro. Now I'm going to challenge you guys. You can't just give me 5 Jake figures. You got to put them in order. That's the hard part. So give me number 1 through 5 of your favorite Jake the Snake Roberts figures of all time. So leave that down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We got a new top 5 list every single Thursday. We're doing wrestling for now, but eventually we're going to branch out. We'll do some Star Wars. We'll do some Marvel. We'll do some Ninja Turtles. We'll do some other things out there. If you got any great ideas, feel free to leave them a comment. I might add them to the list if they're good enough. So let me know. But I had a fun time doing this Jake the Snake Roberts top 5, my personal top 5. You give me your top 5 below. Don't forget to follow me on social media at SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. Of course, ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. So for the Jake the Snake Roberts top 5, I'm Kyle. I'll see you guys all real soon.